So, I would like to thank everybody for coming. How was the stations? Were they good?
Yes.
Can we please give a round of applause to all the station managers? So, today is about community. Today is a day where you have access to so much knowledge and some very important people in the community that you wouldn't regularly have access to. So I want to get started by introducing everybody. We have Deputy Brian James of the Greensboro Police Department. I'm sure you all have already met him. We also have Attorney Mittie Smith. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let you say who you are and how long you've been practicing law if you want to. Well, just give a brief description.
I will. Okay, as he indicated, I'm Mittie Smith. I'm an attorney. I live in Greensboro. My office is in High Point, and we were just commenting up here that I've been practicing law probably more years than most of you have lived. Started in 1980. I have a general practice, and now I'm trying to change the emphasis of that, but I won't go into all of that at this point. Thank you all so much for having me.
I'm Marcus Shields, one of your district court judges here in Guilford County, work in Greensboro and High Point, one of the 14 district court judges, and probably the youngest district court judge in Guilford County right now. So it's a pleasure to be with you. I look to Attorney Smith as one of my elders whose shoulders that I stand on as I continue to try to climb. So it's an honor to be on the panel with her and to be with you all.
Thank you all for coming. So I guess right now what we'd like to do is open up the floor. I heard there was a lot of questions upstairs. So I wanted to know if there are any questions out here now that you would like to give to the panel. Don't be afraid. We're good? All right, cool. So let me,
I think
you
I
have
saw
one?
a hand.
Oh, in the back, I'm sorry.
Our kids may be a little bashful for asking this, so I'll ask it for them. In dealing with the court system, or dealing with the police
I got a mic coming to you. How about that?
Okay, in dealing with the court system or police, could you talk about maybe how they should possibly act if they're coming to the court or if they're having to interact with police in various situations, or if they're in need of assistance with understanding the law as far as you being a lawyer, what should they do? How should they connect with you, or how should they behave?
Okay, do you want that answered first by the police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
So we talk about we talked a little bit about interaction, and what I try to convey to each group is that first of all we have to do work on the front end to build relationships with the community, because if you need the police and we respond, we're in crisis more than likely, or something bad has happened. So at that point, it's too late to form a relationship. So what we hope is that we can build some trust on the front end. What I would ask too is that a lot of times, and some of the questions were great questions around police procedure, sometimes we're doing things and you may not necessarily understand why we're doing it at that particular time. What we ask is that as best you can to try to be cooperative, especially if it's something around an investigation or something like that. If we tell you not to be in a certain area or whatever the case is, we ask that you do that. I also tell people that if you don't agree with what we're doing, unless it's just way out there, just really, really unreasonable, I ask you to please cooperate. And we have a mechanism in place. We all, in Greensboro, we all have body cameras. We have a mechanism in place where if you don't agree with what a police officer did or how they treated you, that you can file a complaint and then we'll investigate it. And we do have that body-worn camera video where we can go back and see exactly what happened. So, we do ask, of course, that you know, of course, know your rights, which the attorneys are gonna be, a better authority to educate you on that. But then also, if we're asking you to do something that's reasonable and something that's lawful, we ask that you cooperate with us. And then, of course, if you have questions after the fact, we want to try to answer those as soon as possible. And if you think the officer did something wrong, we ask that you contact either the on-duty supervisor or contact the professional standards division so we can investigate it. I hope that answers that part of the question.
I'm going to answer that first, probably professionally and personally. All the young people I saw here today look like my son. And because the time is so short, and what would I say to my son with that question that you asked, to get through this system of life, and it is life now, it concerns me, and Officer Davis is completely right. You do have to cooperate. And yet at the same time, because you're my babies, I have to admit that there are times when even when you're doing everything right, things go wrong, just by your being there. But let's say that things are not going wrong, and let's hope that that's how it happens. I would tell you this, my son had an encounter when he was at Howard, and the officer on that occasion with him, thank God I did not know at the time, was a black officer. But he had him up against the wall at night in a very unfriendly way. I had things I had told my son to do. He had to do that particular night. And so I say to these young people, both male and female, I used to tell my son when he was traveling, riding in a car, that if you get stopped, here's what I want you to do. If you're driving, I want both hands up on the wheel. I don't want you making any quick movements. If they ask for your anything about your that is in the glove compartment, I want you to say to them, that is in the glove compartment. I need to open it to get it, and let the officer see you move. And let me tell you why. I don't know if he would say this. I've had officers that tell me they are very nervous themselves when they stop somebody. And so it doesn't take much for that to escalate. So you want the officer to even calm down some from making the stop. And so you tell him, I'm going to open this glove compartment, and what is it? Registration is right there. Now I had a friend of mine that recently say to me, who has a son that he's trying to get through this life, that he wouldn't even open the glove compartment. He would tell the officer, you open it. Because I don't want you to think that I'm going to reach for anything there. So let's say you get through that with his hands here and not doing anything until the officer tells him to do it. And that was very important for me with my son, because my son is he was very big, played football at Dudley, and at the time they were going for the big guys. And he's very dark in color. Those two things I knew over the years, and I'm speaking from experience here, that's why I say I'm mixing it with both professional and personal things to get a boy through this life. Once the officer sees the registration, has opened, you've opened the glove compartment, only then do you reach there. And they've had a chance to kind of look into it themselves. Only get out of the car if they tell you to, especially with his size. If you're riding in the front seat as the passenger, I want your right hand up on the dash, and I want your left hand across the back of the seat. And I used to tell, my kitchen used to be full of young black men because of my son, and I would tell them all this. And if you're in the back seat behind the front passenger, I want your right hand up on the back of the front seat, and your left hand across the back of the seat, and the reverse for the other person, from just a practical standpoint. There were times when they all had to do just that. He's not quite grown, and so all these kinds of things helped him in the system, because he was driving before he left here, and of course, when he got to Washington, D.C. And so I say to any parent or any child, the thing about being in the community is that you have to survive. And you try to survive not doing anything wrong. And I say that because, I think, I'm not saying anything out of school here. We've seen where kids or young people have gotten shot by officers when they were not doing anything wrong. And so that is why it's now become more complex to help get our young people through to adulthood and even throughout adulthood. I used to not be so concerned about females until the thing happened with the young lady, I can't remember where she was stopped and eventually died in the jail. Okay, thank you. The older black lady who was stopped and was harassed as if she was a young black, they had been doing the young black males. So the thing is, as I say, it's gotten complex because you don't have to be doing wrong. And I know what they say. I'm gonna stop answering so that maybe the judge might have some input here. But my role, as I see it, when we talk to a room like this, not only this, I would say the same thing if I'm talking to a mixed group or an all-white group, what I've just said to you. I would say it if I was standing up in court. These are the things. Now you asked about coming to court. I'm going to say this because the judge might not be comfortable saying it. Things have changed a whole lot, but some basic things have not. You only have, they used to tell us in school, you have one chance to make a first impression. That is still true. Judges are human just as we are. Some of them have their own prejudices and whatever, pet peeves or whatever you want to call them. Now, I would tell you, I had a young man in court just last year on a speeding ticket. And I got one of the best deals I've gotten in court for a long time. And you know why? Because he was dressed so appropriately. And the assistant DA looked at him and said, "Oh, you're a very mannerly young man." He was a young man, black male. But he was dressed, and I don't mean that he was flashily dressed. He was not. He was just so appropriately dressed in the sense of what he was wearing. That is still important. That is still important. You don't get a chance to explain yourself because you could be a fantastic human being, and I'm sure people are. But you don't get to say all that when someone is making a first impression about you. And unfortunately, and it's still true, how we look at, I don't mean in the sense that you have to change. You can't change the important parts about you. And you shouldn't. But can I tell you, and should I tell you that it matters? I'll give an example and I'm going to stop. If you want to be a banker, you're going to wear a dark suit and wingtip shoes or something like that. Now, you can say, but this is what I want to express myself. You can express yourself, you just won't do it as a banker. And that's reality in life. And that's what we have to tell our young people. That's the thing about coming to court, the first thing. And I would tell you something. I've heard quite a few of the black lawyers tell young black people what I'm saying to you. I've not heard that. Oh, yes, I have. I've seen it some in Superior Court when people are going to trial from white lawyers. But I don't hear this much. And they all know it's going to matter when you go before a judge or the DA or what have you. That's